What happens when you run out of ideas for new IPs but you still want to keep the cash flowing? Why, you make slight adjustments to games that came out decades ago and squeeze as much money out of already established franchises, of course. I'm being a bit unfair here. I have nothing against remakes or remasters or reboots or reskins or relapses. In fact, I really enjoy playing classics that I didn't have the opportunity to play when they were initially released because they came out decades ago, or even go back to games that I enjoyed the heck out of when I was younger and replay slightly tweaked or upgraded versions of them. So, why make a video about something that you don't feel strongly about, I hear you ask? Well, why do we do anything? To hopefully one day get rich off of YouTube, of course. No, the reason why I'm making this video is because I have a lot of thoughts on this topic, and since I don't have friends who share my hobbies, or since I don't have friends, period, I am instead going to lay them out in a video essay that nobody will watch because I just have so much time to waste. With yet another needlessly long intro out of the way, let's get started. I think it would be fruitless to talk about remakes and remasters without actually defining these terms. The issue is, of course, that there's little consensus on what these terms mean, so I'll just describe my own interpretations of them. Remasters, to me, are graphical upgrades that generally use some kind of upscaling algorithm without altering the gameplay itself too much. These are the lowest effort modernizations of games. They're also the hardest to classify apparently, since while something like GTA, the trilogy, the definitive edition, the movie, the game is a fairly clear-cut remaster, titles such as the Crash Insane trilogy and the Resident Evil HD remaster also fall under this category, while more closely resembling remakes in my opinion. To me, remaking a game involves rebuilding it from the ground up while retaining the original vision of the game, tweaking the gameplay for modern sensibilities while staying true to whatever title is being remade. That's why I think that the Crash remasters should be considered to be remakes instead, because not only did they get the games from looking like this to looking like this, they also changed up some mechanics and even added in time trials to all three games, which were missing from the original Crash game and its sequel. One game that immediately jumps to mind when I so much as hear the word remake is the Demon's Souls remake for the PlayStation 5. Sure, Bluepoint worked with the source code, but they also added a number of quality of life improvements, minor details that you wouldn't even notice if you hadn't played the original recently, and of course, they gave the game the beauty salon treatment and got it from looking like this to this. I really hope that I'm able to edit these sections right. But Bluepoint's remakes bring with them an interesting debate, that of faithfulness to the original. When the Demon's Souls remake came out, I remember seeing a lot of people on Reddit forums disappointed with the game because they believed that this reimagining strayed from the dark and dreary atmosphere of the original. But that's not all. One of Bluepoint's past remakes, the one of Shadow of the Colossus, was criticized by some for retaining the admittedly obsolete control scheme of the original. So the question is, should remakes try to tread new grounds, or should they just make all the assets look prettier and call it a day? I don't think that there's any right side to this argument. Personally, I believe that those looking for better looking versions of old titles should turn to remasters, and that devs should be allowed to take all the creative liberty they want when remaking a game. But since part of the objective of remaking a game is to provide an older experience to a new set of gamers, staying true to the original would probably be more conducive to that goal. Either way, the question of accurately representing the source material is much more complex when it comes to reboots of dormant gaming franchises. While remakes and remasters build on games that have already been released, reboots lay new groundwork while still working with the foundations of whatever series they are a part of. This involves stripping down the franchise as a whole to reveal what, at its core, makes it as legendary as it is. Or it just involves making an entirely unrelated game and slapping the name of a popular franchise on it to capitalize on the success of its predecessors. A series reboot that I personally think does things right is that of Lara Croft. The Tomb Raider series has seen two main reboots. Apart from the original triangular Lara, we also have Lara Lost at the Shopping Mall, and Lara with severe PTSD. While the first two iterations of Lara are similar, with both versions of Lara being cocky, posh British explorers who raid tombs like nobody's business. The control scheme saw a complete overhaul for the Legend trilogy, and Lara's relationship with those she considers to be her friends were also explored. So no more locking Winston in the freezer. What's interesting about the Legend trilogy is that the second game in the 3-game set is a remake of the original Tomb Raider game, and it's my favorite remake of all time. Not only does it do away with the tank controls and make the game's world look as close to the real world as was possible at the time of its release, it also ties into the story of the Legend trilogy, unifying the two continuities in a really strange but still impressive way. The new Survivor trilogy shakes things up even more. Instead of unrealistic polygonal standard of beauty Lara, we have a more organic and hardcore Lady Croft, one who's learning on the job. The first game in the trilogy is really edgy. It's like the devs were trying to make it clear that this game was not for nerdy gamer kids. Things mellow down in the second one, and we have a new take on Lara, one who is forced to deal with her own stubbornness and single-mindedness while also dealing with the Templars. While I don't love how the trilogy ended, I'll talk about Shadow in a video sometime soon, I do appreciate this more raw take on Lara. But at the same time, I'd be lying if I said I didn't miss the ridiculous gymnastics the old Lara could pull off, as well as her no ifs given attitude. Part of the reason why I don't love Shadow is because it seemed like we were building up to that self-assured version of Lara, but instead we were just left hanging, waiting for another title that would feature our favorite Tomb Raider as we know her. Another reboot that tries to take things in an entirely new direction is God of War 2018. Although this game was met with astronomically positive critic reactions, the fans of the series were divided on the game. And for good reason too. The experience that the game presented was nothing like the originals. Kratos' signature blades were gone, the anger that carried him through the series was placated, the hack and slash combat system saw a complete overhaul, and now there was a boy who accompanied the hitherto lone wolf main character of the series. Still, there's no denying that the game's narrative of learning to let go and changing yourself to accept love after suffering the worst of losses is truly heartfelt, and that there is great potential for integrating more aspects from the original games into the sequels of this one. I don't for a second blame fans of the older titles for being disappointed with this complete tonal shift, but I also can't help but praise the game on its own merit. Before I move on to the next evolution of the remake trend, I want to devote this section of the video to talking about my own experience with remakes and remasters. I joined the console gaming scene fairly late, only getting a PlayStation 2 in the middle of the PS3's life cycle, so I missed a lot of classic gaming franchises like Spyro the Dragon and Crash Bandicoot and whatnot. Remasters have allowed me to not only play these games for the first time, but actually enjoy my time with them without having to deal with the hassles of emulating them and being stuck with games that haven't aged particularly well in the visual department. There are also games that I want to see remastered or remade just so I can experience them all over again. One such remaster that I desperately want to see is Tomb Raider Anniversary. Even if they just ported the PS3 remaster to the PS4, I would be happy. Just imagining myself playing a remake of this game fills my heart with joy. Playing this game on the PC and then later on the PS2 constitutes some of my fondest childhood memories, and I would pay full price just to get the same experience again. Another remake that I'm eagerly waiting for is that of Prince of Persia. Again, I played these games all the time as a kid, but I do think that they need a bit more work before they're ready to be enjoyed by modern audiences. There was a remake reboot thing in the works, but it got so much backlash that it has now been delayed indefinitely. I'm glad that the studio is taking their time with it, but I just hope that the project isn't canned. Okay, lightning round of my favorite reimaginings before we get into the final topic of the video. Dark Souls Remastered is my favorite remaster simply because it let me experience that phenomenal game. Tomb Raider Anniversary is the best remake, don't at me. And God of War 2018 will remain my favorite reboot till they bring back Legend Lara. We've spent this entire video talking about games getting a fresh coat of paint to be marketable to younger generations. But that's not the full story. There's a new trend that's emerging, that of video game demakes. You might wonder why gamers would find it necessary to denounce the very technology that makes their escape into other dimensions possible, but that's probably because you haven't seen something like the Bloodborne demake. The remake trend makes a lot of sense if you think about it. As more and more gamers get older, the nostalgia they have for their first gaming console grows, and so does the opportunity to profit on this nostalgia. or to simply revel in it. Remakes are currently passion projects from developers who want to pay an ode to the experiences that they grew up with. But I don't doubt that larger studios will also try and make the most of it somewhere down the line. Or maybe this will be one of those things that only the indie devs focus on because they have the heart for it. Either way, I am excited to see this new category of games that I'm sure will grow in the coming years. You know what else can grow? My ego, if you like and subscribe and do whatever else you want to for engagement. I really enjoyed making this video. I'll be doing more video essays like this one in the future, so watch out for those if you enjoyed this. But for now, goodbye.